Now, replacing a pair of shoes is not a major investment for a shoe store. They get them all the time. But in some cases, there are organizations that are willing to spend a lot of money to make sure that their service recovery is truly superior. I'm going to tell you the story about one organization that was willing to put out a sizable amount of money, investment, in this kind of situation to make sure that every one of their customers bounced back. In this particular case, the company is Lexus. You know Lexus. They're the people that sell a very expensive Japanese car. Now, most people are accustomed to spending that kind of money if they buy a very nice German car, like a Mercedes or a BMW. Or maybe if they buy one of those high-end English cars like a Jaguar. Or maybe a super high-end Scandinavian car like a Volvo or a Saab. To spend that kind of money on a Japanese car? And yet Lexus has been doing very, very well with some pretty healthy sales. How come? They have positioned this car not only as an excellent product, but they've also made the promise and kept the promise that the service behind the product would be every bit as superior as the product itself. Well, they had the opportunity to prove it just a few years ago when the Lexus 300 series had a slight problem with the engine, and they needed to recall 8,000 of those cars to make an adjustment on the engine. 8,000 Lexus 300 customers were about to go like this. And Lexus sat back and said, wait a minute, we're going to plan this so that we know that every one of those will bounce not just to here, but all the way back up to here. This is what they did. Across the country, the dealers got on the phone and would call the owner of the Lexus 300 models and say, for example, sir, please excuse our calling you at this time of day, but this is your dealer for the Lexus model that you bought, and, well, we need to bring your car in to make a minor adjustment on the engine. Now, of course, most of the owners immediately went, oh, no, a recall on my brand new car? But the dealer jumped in and said, to make this as convenient for you as possible, would you let us know what time, date, and location would be good for you? And we'll bring you a brand new Lexus for you to drive while we take your car back to the shop and make the adjustment. Well, all right, I guess you got to do this. Yes, sir, I'm afraid we do. Okay. Tomorrow morning at my house at 8 o'clock. And then the dealer said, sir, I noticed from our records that you have a black Lexus 300. What color would you like the new car to be? Well, that was an interesting question, and about half the customers out there chose a different color. In this case, the fellow said, well, how about one of those nice bright red ones? The dealer said, of course, but sir, our bright red inventory is such, would you mind if we brought you a Lexus 400 model for you to drive while we took your 300 back to the shop? And every one of those customers said, well, no, I wouldn't mind. That's quite all right. So the next morning at 8 o'clock, the dealers drove up. They have the brand new Lexus 400 bright red. And as they're handing over the keys, all of them said, sir, you'll notice that the tank is full of gas. But please don't worry about that. You don't need to put any fuel back into the car at the end. Leave it for us empty. It's the least we can do to apologize for the inconvenience. Well, at that point, the customers weren't feeling that this was too inconvenient at all. And they took the keys and said, thank you very much. And the dealers took the Lexus 300 models and drove them back to the shop. And once they got them back to the shop, what do you think they did? First thing they did is they put that car back into the shop and they fixed the engine. After they fixed the engine, they sat back and they looked at every one of these cars and thought, you know what? Let's give this car a tune-up. Let's change the plugs. Let's change the fluids. Let's change the filters. Let's go ahead and make that car purr like it was brand new. Let's put that car up on the lift and we'll balance and rotate all the tires. Let's bring it back down, go inside the car. Let's vacuum it out. Let's get any stains off the carpet and off the upholstery. Let's clean the inside of the windows. And then as long as they had the car, they went all the way. They put the car into the body shop. And you know when you get a brand new car, inevitably there's your first dent, the little nick, the chip in the paint. Those Lexus dealers went through and found every little dent, nick, and scratch and fixed them like it was brand new, and then they washed and waxed the car. And then they called the owner back and said, sir, your Lexus is ready. Of course, the fellow was having a pretty good time with the new Lexus 400, so he wasn't so enthusiastic about getting his car back and said, the dealer said, what's the best time, place, and location for us to be able to bring this back for you? And the customer said, well, if you wouldn't mind, could I keep this red one over the weekend? You bring it back to me Monday morning at my office. No problem, sir. Happy to do it for you. Monday morning at the office, they drive up with the black Lexus 300 all made out to look like it was brand new. And as they drive up, they step out, hand him back his keys, say, here's your car, sir. The customer said, no, wait a minute. Whoa, are you sure that that's my car? My car's got a little dent over here on the side. I mean, I don't see any dent anymore. And every one of the Lexus dealers said, oh, I hope you don't mind. But as long as we had your car, we went ahead and took the liberty of doing a few things that we noticed the car could use. Could you just sign right here? Pulled out a clipboard, and on the clipboard was a printout listing all the things that they had done on that car. And at the very end it said, total, $1,327. And he stepped back and said, wait a minute. But underneath it there was one more little line that just simply said, no charge. The customer looked at the dealer and said, wait a minute, you mean you did all those things on my car and you're not going to charge me for it? And the dealer said, sir, it's the least we could do to apologize for the inconvenience of having to bring your car back into the shop. And the customer said, give me that pen, no problem, I'll sign right here. That's absolutely fine with me, go ahead. And as the dealer was walking away, he said, oh, by the way, sir, two things. One is, you'll notice we filled up your tank with gas again. I hope you don't mind. And the second is, I've got a question for you. And the owner, very happy at this point, said, what would that be? And the distributor, the dealer said, sir, how did you like the new Lexus 400 model? Every one of those customers said, I liked it. At which point the dealer said, when you're ready to trade up, we'd be only delighted to see you again in the dealership. Come on down and see us. And every one of those customers said, thank you, I think I will. Now you tell me, $1,327 times 8,000 Lexuses across the country. That's a lot of money. That's not just a pair of shoes. But do you think it was worthwhile? The most that Lexus could have hoped for before the problem happened would have been a loyalty line looking like that. But instead, because of their superior service recovery, they found that loyalty jumped like that. Now, the next time that gentleman needs a car, do you think he's going to go to Lexus? You bet. What about when his company needs a car? Will he think Lexus? Of course he will. What about when his wife needs a car? Is he going to think, hey, maybe I should get her a Lexus? Yeah. Or a friend says, I'm thinking of buying a new car. He'll be the first one to say, you ought to buy yourself a brand new Lexus. Now you tell me, the money, the time, the investment spent on service recovery, is it really a cost or is it an investment? Is it one of the best investments that you can make to make sure that your customers come to you, stay with you, and stay with you as loyal customers for a long, long